Hey everybody, welcome to Virtual MOSI. My name is Chris, and today we're going to go over a little bit about hurricane safety and how so you can properly prepare. We all know it's currently hurricane season right now. We've already had tropical storm, so I want to make sure everyone is always safe and prepared so that you can do it. Now, I have a couple trivia questions that we're going to go over first. I'm going to ask the trivia questions. I'm going to give you the answers at the end. So maybe you can answer them and tell me what they are. So how are hurricanes / tropical storms named? We all know that they have names, but who actually names them and what are the conventions to these names? Let's see. The next trivia question is, when did we start using the present naming system? So if you didn't know, we've had previous naming systems, and I'm going to let you know later on what the answers to these are, unless you guys can figure them out yourself. But in the meantime, there are links below to a lot of resources, and the big things are you need to make a plan, you need to pack a kit, and you need to stay informed. Those are three major things. Making a plan means that you know if you're in an evacuation zone or a flood zone. They're not the same thing. You may think they are, but they're not, because sometimes places can flood due to local water runoff. Evacuation zones, they differ. So this is a map of Hillsborough County's evacuations. Mobile homes are always considered an A, which is red, and that is just a storm surge and a low-level hurricane. Now there are links below to Hillsborough, Pasco, Pinellas, and Sarasota to find your evacuation zone, so you know if you need to evacuate. One reason why it's important to know whether you need to evacuate or not is that storm surge. The words you need to remember are that you run from water, but you hide from wind. Okay? Because that storm surge comes through and it will take you away. It will destroy things. It will make your retreat or evacuation impossible. Which is why when they say to evacuate, you need to do it then, not later. Okay? Also, if you're one of those people, and I have relatives like this, if you're one of those people who's like, I'm going to wait and see, I'm going to see, if it gets really bad, I'll just call 911. Let me tell you, they will not come get you if the winds are above a certain speed. In the Tampa Bay area, those speeds vary between 30 and 45 miles an hour. Once those winds hit that speed, there will be no ambulances, there will be no fire trucks, there will be no police cars on the road. They will not come get you. You are on your own. So when they say evacuate, you need to leave. Now, you don't need to leave and run to Orlando. You need to evacuate. Think dozens of miles, not hundreds of miles. So if you're in South Tampa, think come evacuate near USF. Not, let me run to Gainesville. Also, if you do need to evacuate to a shelter, there are limited spaces. So if you're in an evacuation zone and you can't go to someone's house that you know, or to a hotel or motel, there are shelters. There are limited spaces. They do have special needs shelters that you must pre-register for. The Hillsborough County and all the other counties come out with this great hurricane preparedness guide that has everything you might need to know. It has links and phone numbers of who to call, where to go to sign up for these. The special needs shelters offer differing services. So people who may need medication, like must have electricity for medications or oxygen, they may make sure they provide that. If you do have to evacuate to a shelter, You are given a very small space. The amount of space you have may be the size of this table. That might be your entire space in a shelter. It's not a lot of space, so don't bring everything. Not all shelters can hold pets. If it is a shelter that is pet approved, you must have your pet in a carrier. Can't be just on a leash. You need a leash too, but it must be in a actual crate. If it is a cat, that crate must be large enough to hold a litter box and their food and water. So you need to prepare ahead, not just for your family, but your pets in case you need to evacuate. Now, we're going to move on to what should you have in an emergency kit. What I have before me is just a little sample of what you might want to have. One thing is you need 1 gallon of water per person per day for 1 week. Now, they used to say 3 to 4 days. However, the population, in particular in Hillsborough County and the surrounding areas, has skyrocketed so much that they predict that if a storm comes through here, they may not get to you for a week. So 1 gallon per person per day for 1 week. You can buy them like this or other things. Popular ones that work well are the big 3-gallon jugs or even those large 5-gallon office jugs that you can buy. Then you don't have to have as many tiny little ones. You need some shelf-stable food, okay? Stuff that's not going to go bad. You make sure you have a manual can opener. A lot of people still have electric can openers. It's not going to work if we don't have any power. When you have food, don't forget to include things like snacks and goodies. Because hurricanes are stressful. And if I'm at home and I got no power, I might have something a little sweet. But you need to have a lot of food, not just beans and rice. If you have a grill, I obviously did not bring a grill. It's very large. But you can cook on the grill. If you have a lot of food, you need to pack your fridge and freezer as full as you can and open it as little as possible. This allows your fridge or freezer to stay as cold as possible. So if you don't open it, it's going to help stay cold, and if it's packed, if it's only a few things in there, it's not going to stay as cold. Some of the other things you need are personal items. If you have any medications, over the counter or prescription, you need to make sure you have at least 2 weeks. Other personal items, deodorant, hairbrush, female items. Things to keep yourselves entertained that don't require electricity. It's all great that we have Nintendo Switches and Game Boys and Xboxes and PlayStations. Without power, those eventually will not work, or they won't work at all. So some things, like cards, Legos, whatever you have for your family, obviously it depends, age appropriate. For your house, having something like this, if you don't have actual tools, like a toolkit, which is a multi-tool, is very helpful because I can use it for a variety of things. You need to make sure you've got that handy-dandy flashlight because we lose power, can't see anything, your phone might die. This one I particularly like because it has the flashlight part, and if I click it again, I can use it as a lantern to light up a whole room. This is something that I personally bought several years ago off of Amazon. It wasn't super expensive. It has a flashlight, a lantern, and a fan. We all know Florida gets really hot. And when you have no electricity, you have no AC. So this, you can charge ahead of time. However, it's also solar powered. So I can stick this out in the sun and charge it up and then get myself a little bit of cooling down. Preparing your home, you need to have hurricane windows, shutters, or put plywood ahead on them. Putting that X that everyone puts on windows doesn't do anything. Okay? All that's going to do is create large shards of glass, which are actually more deadly than having your windows shatter. Now, if you're going to use this post-storm to play tic-tac-toe, that might be used for it. But to protect your windows, no good. Having something like a tarp is very good. If your roof creates a hole, you can help use this to protect your home. You can use this for anything else. Lay it over things to keep things dry. Good old duct tape always is good for pretty much everything. But besides that, if you have a baby or any toddler, you need to make sure you have enough supplies for them. Diapers, formulas, baby wipes, things like that. You also want to have emergency numbers. It'd be very helpful to put this in a Ziploc bag. You want to have it printed because we all know that our handy-dandy cell phones are going to die eventually. So you are going to want to print this out, have any important documents, passports, birth certificates, marriage license, deeds to your house, your homeowner's insurance policy, and some important phone numbers. Print it out, put it in a Ziploc bag. And that will help keep it safe from anything that you might need. When you are preparing for hurricane season, try to make sure during all of hurricane season to not let your car get below 3/4 of a tank of gas. That way, in case you need to evacuate, you know you have gas. If you are going to shelter in place in your house, you can always use that car to charge your phone or to get a bit of air conditioning, or if you need to go someplace to buy something. If you have down power lines or water, don't go wading out into it. If it is above your knees, don't go out into the water. Stay away. You want to make sure beforehand you trim your trees around your house. You don't want a massive oak limb over your roof because it's probably going to break and it might create a hole. So trim them early. Plus, then it's usually cheaper if you trim it early. Board up windows if you need. Any outdoor items that are loose, bring them inside. If you can't bring them inside, try to contain them as best you can. If you do have a big in-ground swimming pool, throwing certain patio items in the pool does work because it is very heavy to lift those things back out. If you're going to use a generator, make sure you do it safely. You've read all the instructions. You may need to contract an electrician to how to properly use it, and never use a generator inside your home. The last little bit is flooding. You may have local flooding. It may overwhelm your gutters, things like that. You may need sandbags. The county often provides areas that have sandbags, that have bags and sand that you can then fill. However, if in a pinch, you can take those plastic grocery shopping bags, fill them with dirt from your yard, and stack them up in front of doors and windows. That's a last-ditch effort if you can't get the actual official things. So, we're going to give you the answers to these questions. So how are hurricanes, tropical storms named? There is the World Meteorological Organization makes a list of alternating male-female names. This list repeats every 6 years unless there is a storm that has created enough money damage, life or limb, simple destruction that people will remember, then they retire that name. Like Superstorm Sandy that occurred. People all remember that hits New York, they're going to retire that name. The final trivia question is, when did we begin using the present naming system? We started using it in 1979. Back in 1953, meteorologists were naming storms after their girlfriends or just females in general, until 1979, where we adapted the current naming system. The links below have links to finding your evacuation zones and all the planning guides. There are also links that Jose and Catherine made about how hurricanes are made and formed and all sorts of the science behind it. This is my safety presentation. So if you have any questions, you can put them down below and we will make sure we answer them.